Okay, good morning, everybody, and here we are to do another round of coffee and questions. And so today's topic, we're going to go over hot dog cookers again, but we're going to go over the adult version of it. It's kind of like porn welding, where this is really meant for more adults. The first video I did was on hot dog cookers, something you could take and do with your kids and so forth. This is a little bit more the adult version. I had somebody say, you got to do part two. You got to show us some of the ones you've made and some other examples, of hot dog cookers that would be like a fun novelty thing that we can make and we could goof around with in the garage and, and use at grilling time. And I said, sure. So, like I always say, no long intros. These are basic tools and a lot of scrap steel or steel that you can, you go out to the steel supplier, you can buy it fairly cheap. They usually have a cutoff section where they put their cutoffs. And you can usually get them there a little bit more inexpensively. Sometimes they charge you the same price, but it is cheaper because you're not buying, the 10 and 20 foot lengths. So, or you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot, but I would caution you about doing that. It's fairly expensive when you buy it out at, the big box stores. So check around for a steel supplier. Anyway, let me change the picture. We'll get right after it and we'll have a discussion about each one as we go. All right, here we go. Okay, now these here are for fun. These are about 1/4 inch cold rolled, rod steel, pretty cheap. And you can get some, this thin steel, like I show you here in the picture, and you can cut it out. Now, plasma cutter, yeah. You could also use like a drill, and you can use a jigsaw probably with a good metal blade on there. Now these I have not done. These are just copied off of the web, to show you. And the guy put some wood handles on the back, and then if you're sitting around a campfire or something, you can roast marshmallows and hot dogs this way. So this is one option, you could think about. I'm going to change the picture. We're going to move through like several examples. And this is to give you ideas of things that you might want to go play around with and do. So let me change the picture. We'll get right to the next one. Now, this is just another picture of the ones that I did on the previous video. It's just here for completion's sake. You can take a look at these. And like I said, you can add tails to them. You can add ears. You can put a little bit more of that 1/4 inch round on the bottom and make toes. You can do different things with this if you want to. You don't have to leave them just like this, okay? But this gives you another idea on the hot dog cookers. And now we'll move into the more serious adult stuff. Here we go. Okay, now these are a very simple version. Again, you're using that 1/4 inch rod. You're using some expanded metal for the base and some nuts, bolts. In this case, you're using nuts. And you can see where he used that 1/4 inch steel, and he brought it out, and on a grinder he sharpened it to a point for piercing the hot dog over it. But these are real simple. These are easy to do, real straightforward. You can make these fast and easy if you think you have a little bit of fun with them. But I'm going to show you a bunch of other pictures, so let me just keep flipping through them. And here's a little bit more of a close-up of what we were talking about the ones with the expanded metal, just giving you a different view. Here's another viewpoint where he has them on the grill. I exploded the picture up quite a bit, and it starts to lose, its clarity. It gets real grainy, so I didn't want to go too much, but this gives you a close-up view of somebody actually using them on the barbecue. Okay, and here's another example. It's the same thing. This time he put a little piece of that steel on top, and he bent it and played around with it, and then he welded another bolt to the top of it. And you can fill that top bolt on his hat with weld, and you can hit it with a 4.5 inch angle grinder, 60-80 grit. And you can play around. You can make hats for them. You can do different things. And, they come out kind of comical, and they're kind of fun. And okay, here's another version where he used, the nuts, and he used the expanded metal. And, this looks like a balloon more than it does a hot dog or a sausage. But you get the idea on how he made these. So this is another version that you can do. And I'm going to keep moving through the slides. Okay, still the same photos. This one is expanded metal. And, of course, you can see where he used the nuts. And he did a little bit of bending or whatever. And these are all done with basic hand tools. And it's just something comical to have some fun with. But this is another version of it. Okay, and here's another version. Again, it's a little bit grainy. I blew it up quite a bit, but I wanted you to be able to see all the details of the welding and the tack welding and, and the nuts and stuff like that, and see how he did this stuff. And you can see if you look real close, he did the testicles, the breasts out of, nuts. And just playing around, having a good time, I'm sure, but this is how it came out. Let me keep moving. Okay, so from all of those ideas, I turned around out in my shop, and I had a friend said, you got to make me a few of these. And he goes, I'll pay you for them, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, fine. Well, I sat around and I decided I'm going to make them out of the materials that I have. Now, I have horseshoes, and I've got railroad ties, and, I've got some other stuff laying around. So I went and I came up with these, okay? And this right here shows it to you at different angles and what I did. So what I wanted to do is spend a little bit more time here and explain to you a little bit more detail what I did. Now, in the description below, you're going to see reference to another YouTube video I did where I show you step by step how you make these. These barbecue, hot dog cookers, where I actually take you through the whole process. But you can see on here where I got some decent sized nuts for his testicles. I drilled some holes in his hands. I took a horseshoe and I cut it in half, and that's for his hands, and I bent them and played around. And then I drilled holes, and then I took this wire. You can get it Ace Hardware, Home Depot, whatever. It's just a thick gauge kind of a wire. And I took and I put it in a vise, and I took a pair of pliers and I just twisted it by hand. I mean, you could use a drill or whatever you want, but it's just a short piece, so I just twisted it by hand. And then I went ahead and I put it through those holes, and I wrapped it around his hand, and I brought it up. I brought it through the other one and created like this lasso. With this lasso, I mean, somebody said, well, you could put stuff in it. Well, you can, but it can't be very heavy, and that's not what it was meant for. It was just meant to be comical, because when you put it out on your grill and the base of this gets real hot from the grill, the heat travels up and it'll travel through the rod and start to cook it from the inside slowly to the out. But also when you shut your grill, it's going to cook it from the outside. So they do work. They work fairly well. It keeps all the black char marks and stuff, off of the hot dog or the sausages or whatever you're cooking. But this was my version. I thought they were a little bit better. I sold these things for about $22 each or something like that. It didn't take me long to make, and I made several of them. So it's kind of a quick, easy project. Let me move to the next slides. Hang on just a sec. Okay, so here I'm just showing you the final couple of pictures of it. I'm just showing you different angles so you can get an idea of exactly what did I do. Well, I drilled the hole, I wrapped the wire, and how I bent it and what I did. So it gives you a much clearer idea. In the hat, you just take that little piece of, steel that you have. It could be 16, 18 gauge, whatever it is. And all I did is take a ball peen hammer. After I cut it like a teardrop and cut it, a decent shape, like a teardrop. And then I turned around and hit it with that ball peen hammer. And then I took, in this case, this was like a real flat kind of a bolt. And I kind of wish I would have used a bigger one, to weld on there. And then I could have filled the top of the bolt up with, with the MIG wire, and I could have shaped it by, using that 4.5-inch angle grinder, and it would have given it a more pronounced hat. But it's what I had laying around at the time, and these were giveaways. I didn't spend a lot of time. You'll notice there's a little defect in the hat if you look at the picture up here on the right, but that's okay. The people didn't mind it. I must have hit it with something and created that little gouge, but you can also just put a little tack weld on there with your MIG welder, and you can just touch it with that 4.5 and take it off, if it bothers you. But the rest of this is, okay, what did I do? Well, when I was done, the whole thing was wire brushed, of course. I wire brush everything on either a wire wheel or something like that before I start the welding. But when I was done, I wipe it all down with acetone. And I turned around, and you can paint it with primer or not. I didn't in this case because they were free giveaways, and they're small projects. And I used kind of like, it's like a textured, heat-resistant black paint. I got it out at, I think it was Home Depot. I just wanted to try it. It turned out okay. It's got a little bit of flakiness to it, not much. But if you wanted to, you could get, black, and then you could get silver, and you could paint them black, and then you could just mist it with silver, and that gives it kind of a textured effect too. There's lots of different ways you can finish these. You can leave them alone. In the previous video, I was explaining, like a friend of mine, when we did the hot dog cooking thing for the kid, that was playing around, he just wanted to leave his alone. So he cleans it real well after each use and just wipes it with a little bit of oil, and he just saves it for next time. So you don't have to paint them. It's up to you. But this is just something you can go out in the garage. You can have some fun with. Like I said, basic tools, basic materials. And somebody said, well, where do you get your railroad ties? Well, I get them off of eBay. You can also buy horseshoes off of eBay. I sell them too. I mean, I'll leave my email in the description below. In this video, if you contact me directly, I give anybody that's a subscriber, I give them a discount, and I sell them in the flat rate shipping boxes. Now, there's nothing I can do about the flat rate shipping cost. I think it's about $18.50, or currently it's somewhere right around that price. I'd have to look. And I sell them for about $1 a piece or less. It just depends on the quantity that you want. But I can usually give you a better deal than eBay, and I have tons of them. So if you're interested, drop me a line. And if you're not, and you have all this stuff, or you want to make it out of a different kind of a steel, this gives you an idea of something you can go out and have some fun with. And when you're grilling, people get a kick out of it and laugh. Okay, well, that's going to wrap this up. It wasn't meant to be long. This is part 2, like I said. I'm the Home Handyman. I hope you folks click subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and keep following me. If you do these and you do them a little bit differently, you got some better ideas or something you want to add to them, drop them in the comments below, and other people can read them, and we can all come up with different design ideas. Okay, you folks have a good day, and I'll see you again on the next video. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.